All right, so the first article or little feature piece that I wrote was what's next for Splatoon single player. So I recently finished Splatoon 3's campaign mode or single player, whatever you want to consider it, or whatever they consider it. I've been a fan of this series since the original on Wii U. I think it's one of Nintendo's obviously like most important IPs to date. One of their biggest franchises, clearly. But the single player I've always thought was a little, whether it's lacking or not what I want out of it or not what I'm looking for. And I think it could be a lot more than what we've gotten, even with the third game. So that's what I'm going to be reading about shortly. So what's next for Splatoon single player? Splatoon is arguably Nintendo's most important IP to date. The series has sold extremely well worldwide, and in Japan, it's become a cultural phenomenon. Despite originally debuting on the Nintendo Wii U, Splatoon, like other games previously, shipwreck on Nintendo's failed platform, was given a second chance on the Nintendo Switch. While it's mostly known for its competitive multiplayer modes, the developers continue to provide single-player experiences in an attempt. While it's mostly known for its competitive multiplayer modes, the developers continue to provide single-player experiences in an attempt to build the world around the competitive modes while simultaneously teaching players how to play the game. Splatoon's single-player campaign has more or less been a glorified training tutorial for the multiplayer modes, but could it be more? With each new entry, the developers have slowly evolved and made tweaks to the single-player experience. But even with Splatoon 3, it still leaves a lot to be desired. In Splatoon single player, you have a hub-like environment where the levels are located. These levels are known as kettles, and they essentially transport the player to a traditional point A to point B stage, filled with platforming challenges and enemy encounters. The levels of Splatoon have always been well designed, even dating back to the original game on Wii U. With that said, they're essentially an amalgamation of steel and concrete suspended in air in a sort of obstacle course-like fashion. Splatoon 3 is probably the most ambitious entry to date, with its interconnected islands and overworld exploration, however. Each island is filled with satisfying goop to clear, hidden scrolls to collect, and other small secrets that can be found off the beaten path. If you survey the entire island, which essentially means 100%ing each area, you're rewarded with unique items for your unnecessarily hard to find locker room in the online lobby. I know I'm not the first one to suggest this, but what if Nintendo took the lessons they learned from Bowser's Fury and applied those ideas to Splatoon single player? Could you imagine if the 6 islands from Splatoon 3 took the platforming and combat sequences from the kettle stages and placed them in a much larger, more grounded, explorable space? What if Splatoon had Super Mario 64-sized worlds, and instead of Power Star objectives in each level, you had the collectible Zapfish instead? That's not the developer's intention, considering the approach they've taken now that we're 3 games deep. Outside of some truly epic boss encounters, particularly the final boss sequences, and some interesting lore, Splatoon single player doesn't have much of an identity. Since Splatoon 2, each level can be tackled with different weapon choices. Splatoon 3 carries this idea forward, and after clearing every stage with every available weapon, I did learn which weapons I liked or disliked using for when I returned to the multiplayer, so perhaps those were the developers' intentions all along. For the completionists out there, if you do complete every stage in the game at least once and roll the credits, you unlock a secret bonus stage that's essentially Splatoon 3's Champion Road equivalent from Super Mario 3D World. This level, titled After Alterna, is a series of platforming and shooting sequences that test the player's complete understanding of the game's core mechanics. It took me nearly 3 hours to complete, and the reward is a new badge or title for your profile and an additional lore entry for your log. It was one of the most challenging things I've accomplished all year, and it clearly showcases the potential of Splatoon's single-player gameplay. With a few people on this planet who care more about Splatoon's single-player experience than the multiplayer, I can confirm that there is no reward for completing every stage with every available weapon option. Splatoon 3 takes some conceptual, structural ideas from Splatoon 2's Octo expansion as well. Instead of using power eggs to upgrade your character's equipment like in Splatoon 2 single-player, they're used here to either clear the islands of the fuzzy goop that's impeding your progress, or for a small fee that can be used to access particular stages. I think Splatoon 3 single player is a step in the right direction, and when, not if, a Splatoon 4 happens, similar to how the Inklings evolved from the ocean squid, perhaps they'll be ready for their next step in evolution. Hey everyone, Matt here. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts on what you think should be next for Splatoon single player, leave some comments below and I'll talk to you all soon. All right, bye.